Somewhere in your first 3 years of life, you fell down. You laughed for the first time. You heard your mother's voice and understood, for the very first time, that it was your mother's voice. None of it is there. Not one frame. But the real answer for why isn't that your brain was too small, or too undeveloped, or too simple to hold on to those moments. The real answer is far stranger. Your brain wasn't failing to save those memories. It was actively building itself, and in the process it may have been erasing them on purpose. Think about that for a second. Somewhere inside you right now is the machinery that once watched the world for the first time. It just won't let you see the footage. Scientists have a name for this gap. They call it infantile amnesia. Sigmund Freud noticed it over a century ago and assumed it was repression, some dark psychological filing away of early trauma. He was wrong about the mechanism, but he was right that something deliberate was happening. Here's what actually happens inside a baby's skull. In the first 2 years of life, your brain produces roughly 250,000 new neurons every minute. Every minute. Entire structures are being wired, rewired, and wired again before you can even hold a spoon. One of those structures is the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for turning experience into long-term memory. The hippocampus is still under construction, which means the filing cabinet for your earliest memories doesn't fully exist yet. But that's not the whole story. If it were simply a matter of an unfinished brain, memories should trickle in slowly as the hippocampus matures. Instead, something more aggressive is happening. Neuroscientist Paul Franklin at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto ran a series of experiments on infant mice, and what he found reshaped how researchers think about this entire process. The high rate of new neuron growth in early life doesn't just fail to save memories, it may actively overwrite them. New neurons need to wire themselves into existing circuits. To do that, they sometimes have to unplug old connections to make room. Franklin's research suggested that this flood of neurogenesis in early childhood physically disrupts the very memory traces that were just starting to form. Your brain wasn't ignoring your first steps. It may have been demolishing the memory of them to build something newer, faster, better suited to the world you were about to grow into. Is that unsettling? It should be, a little. The mind that made you who you are may have destroyed the very first data it collected about you. But there's another piece to this puzzle, and it has nothing to do with neurons. It has to do with language. Psychologist Carol Peterson at Memorial University of Newfoundland has spent decades studying how children talk about their own pasts. Her research found something remarkable. A child's earliest memories don't just depend on the brain being ready. They depend on having the words to hold the memory in place. Before a child can form a real sentence, they can't yet organize an experience into something that resembles a story. And a memory without a story is a memory with nothing to hang on to. You didn't just need a hippocampus. You needed a vocabulary. Peterson found that when parents talk to toddlers about shared experiences, asking questions, narrating events, filling in the details, those children retain earlier and richer memories than children who weren't spoken to that way. The conversation itself became scaffolding. It gave the moment a shape that could survive. Which means the story of your childhood wasn't only written by your brain, it was co-written by the people around you, one conversation at a time. There's a third layer here, and this one is about identity itself. Psychologist Patricia Bauer at Emory University has spent her career mapping how autobiographical memory develops. The specific kind of memory that isn't just, I know how to walk, but I remember the day I learned to walk, and it was me who learned it. Bauer's work shows that this sense of a continuous self, a me that persists through time and owns its own history, doesn't fully click into place until somewhere between 3 and 4 years old. Before that age, you didn't yet have a stable enough sense of self to file experiences under your own name. Imagine trying to save a document without knowing where the folder is. That's roughly what memory looked like inside your 2-year-old brain. The experiences were happening, they just had nowhere permanent to go. So here is what was really happening in those invisible years. Your hippocampus was still being built. Neurogenesis was quietly overwriting fragile new memory traces almost as fast as they formed. You lacked the language to give experiences a narrative shape, and you hadn't yet developed a strong enough sense of self to organize memories around.